Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of the Inside Agents. On this episode today, it's really a special one. Myself, Maggie and Tim, and of course my co-host Nate Matthews, leader. We are discussing the current events, what's going on, what's happening within the world of soccer, as well as just everything that has taken place within the past week. Nate, feel free to take it away.
So, just piggybacking off of Maggie, we brought you guys this episode because one, since you guys are new to our podcast, we will be doing recaps after we have a couple of episodes, and recaps are just basically covering topics around football and sports that are going on. In general, not necessarily how we have one topic. It's usually just a couple of things going on in the sport in general. This one is an important one because a lot of things have happened or transpired in the last week and a half or weeks around football and soccer. And not even that, it just basic human rights as well. So we thought that it would be important to address it because we are the inside agents and we are covering all topics around sports and football, and what's transpiring in the world is affecting all of us, and we've seen it throughout players, whether they're showcasing showing their gratitude,
Tributes,
their
or expressing tributes.
to the lives that have been lost due to just violence because of race. And I would like to say that we don't tolerate any racial bias. We don't tolerate any racial slurs. We don't tolerate any racism, point blank, period, on our podcast. We've all experienced it. Maggie and I ourselves were both minorities, as you guys know already. And the reason why we got into this football industry and is because we need to give our people a voice, we feel. And when our whole society is affected and people are not seen equal, we feel like obviously we're going to take it personally because these are our people. Like, it's a human race issue that has been going on from the beginning of time. So we just wanted to, one, give our condolences to all of those who were lost due to racism, and just their lives were cut short unnecessarily, because in our society that can happen literally just whether you're a black male, you can be a black female, you can be just any minority. So we just want to address that situation, and we're going to dive into how other footballers have contributed, how other footballers have been affected, and also on another note, we're going to talk about leagues coming back, because there are a few leagues coming back in North America. The women's league has decided how they're going to come back in an interesting way. MLS has decided that they will come back as well. So we're just going to brush up on those things, as well as the Premier League also has decided to come back, which we haven't really addressed on our podcast as of yet. So, Maggie, if you'd like to talk about, I know you've had some clients do some great things in regards to George Floyd and being black in America and just dealing with racism in general. So if you'd like to let our insider agents family know about what's your athletes have done to pay tribute, please share.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just once again, my heart goes out to the George Floyd's family, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. It's really heavy on the heart for me, and for Nate as well. And so once again, just want to send my condolences to those families, and just anyone that has been affected by it. And as we speak of, these events and what has happened, the past week has been interesting. I've been just extremely proud of my guys. A few of my clients decided, hey, this affects us as young African American males, and we want to be able to show how, not just how it affects us, but we want to also pay our tributes to, you know, those families and someone like George Floyd, because obviously they're thinking from a standpoint where without football, that could be them. That could be any one of our relatives. So um, if we look at Bundesliga, for example, three players in particular have stood out amongst headlines. I mean, obviously, we talk about Jadon Sancho and what he's done by wearing a shirt that stated justice for George Floyd in their past game this past weekend. Um, and we have Marcus Thuram, who also decided to kneel, which was something new that I've never seen within football. We know in America here in North America, mainly with American football, the NFL, of course, Colin Kaepernick has decided to take a knee years ago, and that has been his stance from the beginning. And it has been something that a lot of athletes have decided they were going to do that as well. So for Marcus Thuram to do that, it actually started a whole kind of like snowball effect because now a lot of the clubs are doing it. So we saw Liverpool um, decide to kneel; their players kneeled. We saw Chelsea. Chelsea was very creative where their players not just took a kneel, but they decided to spell out the letter H for human beings. And I thought that was very creative. And then, of course, another one of my guys, Hugh Roberts from the USL Championships, Charlotte Independence defender, decided to not just piggyback off of a video that he's created a few weeks back after hearing about Ahmaud Arbery and showing, you know, how social injustice affects African American males within, you know, America. But he also wrote a really nice, eloquent piece that is on the USL Championships website. It is under their From the Pitch side, and it basically expresses his thoughts on, you know, social injustice, racism, and how when you're fighting for justice, we really don't get far. So I thought that was really, really touching, and um, the messaging it's spreading across. And Nate, I'm sure you've seen other players as well. Can you shed some light on maybe some of the even Canadian players that have decided to take some stands? I've seen a few players from Canada that also voiced their opinion on social injustice and racism.
That's a great point, and I would like to touch on some of the MLS players and Canadian players, like you said, who I've seen
Mm-hmm.
spoke out. I've seen two TFC players. I saw
Mm-hmm.
Josie Altidore speak out about the injustice, and we all know Josie's been influential in just North American soccer and MLS in general, and he's been the starting striker for the U.S. national team for past almost a decade. Almost a decade, Josie's been a part of the U.S. national team system. So he was just speaking about the injustice that he has experienced. And one person I wanted to point out because this was so relevant was Derek Etienne Jr. from Columbus Crew was pulled over twice
Yes.
this week
Mm.
alone. And this goes to show that it's not even about your status as a person, um, because athletes are held at a higher pedestal, but we know that soccer is not the biggest sport in North America, so maybe the average person may not necessarily know who these people are.
Mm.
So it just shines light on like you can be a pro athlete in North America, but it does not matter because the cops were pulled him over twice in his drive home, and both instances he heard the cops say, quote unquote, that he fits the description of someone who would have a warrant.
Mm.
Uh, so that is also another thing we'd like to address is just the racial targeting that happens in our society. It doesn't matter whether you're a football player, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a lawyer. It just goes to show that any professional footballer or any professional player is still experiencing racism to this day, where it's like, what does someone who looks like they have warrants look like in the eyes of the people who are supposed to protect us? Because Just for him to experience that in one day, just two officers, two separate occasions of officers pulling him over because he quote unquote looks like he has warrants, is not okay in our society. Like, it's point blank not okay in our society at all for that to happen. And even for me personally, I don't know a single black male who has not experienced some sort of racism growing up, whether that is subliminal racism or just blatant racism just due to the color of their skin. Where even Richie Lera, who played for he grew up in Canada. He ended up going to Akron, and then after Akron he got drafted to Orlando, and he came out and said, like, it's he's had his mother call him since he left Canada to go to Akron and even play at Orlando to make sure that he made it home every night, because she was just in fear of him potentially his life being taken away from him due to the color of his skin. So it's such a common theme that we need to address it, because like I addressed earlier on my social platforms that a lot of athletes and a lot of black people in general, whether you're male or female, don't like to speak on these issues because there are financial implications that usually come with it, whether you lose your job or society views you as even more of a threat. When it's like, I want to voice my opinion and I don't agree with what's going on, but it's like, why is that? Why do our people feel like they cannot address their issues in America, which is the land of the free? Our people have never been free, and it's 2020 now. It's a new decade, so it's time for us to all step up as a community. Regardless of race, we need to do what's right for our people and everybody in general.
I couldn't agree more with you, Nate. I saw something yesterday that Weston McKinney from Bundesliga as well, who also was actually the first to display his tribute to George Floyd last Saturday during, a match, and decided to wear a band saying justice for George Floyd. And many people wondered, okay, you know, is this illegal? Because, as we all know, especially within football, when it comes to uniforms and the rights that you have in terms of, what you're wearing. And even for someone like Jaden Sanchu, it was a big deal too, where they were saying, okay, was he going to be penalized for that? But the federations, including FIFA, decided they were not going to penalize these players for expressing their rights and their feelings and how they feel, because such as a governing body such as FIFA also agrees that they do not condone racism or discrimination in any kind of way. So I thought that was very good. And Weston, McKinney decided to take it up a notch even more, where he gathered not just friends from the football world, but even from basketball, from the NBA. I saw he had some NFL players, and they all kind of chipped in and got together and shared their views on, police brutality, social injustice, racism. And I thought that was so, it was just such a beautiful thing to see. Um, I mean, usually for me, it was great. And Nate, we've talked about this, to where it's very rare that I see football taking part in social injustices. Usually, with when something happens, I'm always expecting to see NFL players, NBA players, usually are the ones that voice their opinions. But to see the football industry and community step up the way they have, I mean, it's beautiful, beautiful. I've seen some of the guys even who are more American based, especially within MLS clubs. They decided to protest and join the protest. We've seen guys like Memphis Depay who decided to join the protest as well in a place like Amsterdam. So when we see this, it's beautiful, and it's not just the men that's doing this. Also, the women. plenty of the women from the National Women's League as well as the U.S. Women's National Team. Obviously women like Crystal Dunn, Margaret Purse, Estelle Johnson. Um, I mean, so many women stepped up and said, okay, we too, have to speak on this. I even saw some just amazing pieces written by Jamila Fields from Houston Dash. I've seen a couple of other ladies as well that have just really voiced their opinions on what it's like, because just like the men who experience, some racism, women do too. Women do too. I mean, I could tell you, as a woman, as an African American, as a woman who's of African descent. I mean, I was born to an African, my mother was born in Africa. So I was born to an African parent, and to kind of see what that's like, even in North America, there are certain cities, certain states that I don't feel comfortable going to. I don't feel comfortable going to because I don't know if I'm going to make it out. I don't know if I'm just going to visit, and anything can happen on that visit. Anything can happen on that visit. So, you know, I just pray that one day we won't have to live like that. And we know obviously from years ago of what our ancestors had to go through, and just people in general, and obviously having those greats like Martin Luther King and what he fought for, and Malcolm X and what they stood for. And, things somewhat have changed, but it still exists. It still exists. And it exists not just in our everyday lives, but when you look at sports, when you look at, entertainment, and you look at various industries, you would think, you know, it doesn't exist, but it does. It does.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I'd like to say, since we're gonna cover like all topics in sports, that I've been very disappointed in how some NCAA schools, well, most have handled the
Oh,
situation.
yes. Yes.
Because I will speak personally, my school has not said a word. My alma mater has not said a single word in
Wow.
regards to what has transpired, and this is almost 10 days into what's been going on. And people know how I feel about the NCAA and the players working so hard and the organization just making so much money off of the backs of these young athletes. And
Hmm.
then for schools not coming out to protect their student athletes is just honestly, I would say like I should be surprised, but I'm like more disappointed than surprised, because it really does go to show that at the end of the day we're just a commodity for them. Like, it's just entertainment. No one wants to step up. Even I looked at my conference and there was only one school that made a statement so far in regards to what's happening. So that I just want my student athletes to know, like, there are people who care about you, and just stay strong and stay focused and try to keep your head on straight, because I know that you may feel like, what about those student athletes who have to go back to campus in September? Like, will
Hmm.
they feel protected on their own campus?
Hmm.
Like like it's just a lot for them to deal with, and for them to look at the support of their coaches, or look at the support of the athletic director, or even the president of the school, and for those guys who are in the leadership roles not to take the lead in social injustice, speaks volumes for me as a former student athlete. And it just flat out disappointing in regards to my school and other um, schools that I've seen. Also, another side point, like the music industry, Maggie, you worked in, and
I was gonna touch on that too. I
yeah,
mean,
you
the
came from the music industry, so
that
I'll let you touch on that one.
first of all, um, I mean, I was proud of both my alma maters, because they have spoken on on these issues and have put out a statement. Even coaches have as well. I wanted to touch on that before we even get into the whole music industry side, because what I've been thinking about for the past few days is, wow, I'm seeing so many professional players, college athletes speak up, but then I'm wondering, the coaches that coach you guys, that haven't put out statements, the schools that haven't put out statements, the professional players that work with agents and agencies, they have not put out statements. How does that make you feel? Because I know me as an agent, I was pretty much disappointed and disgusted to feel like, well, here are, other agents of other sports or whatnot representing African American males, minority, athletes, but yet there's not a statement. So it's like, how do you feel? Do you feel any type of way about what's going on? And to know that you are representing players that, God forbid, could one day be in a similar situation. So how do you deal with it? And so I just feel like during this time and seeing a lot of what I have seen, it shows a lot of true colors of people. Um, and that leads me into the music industry. I started my career in the music business. And about 85 to 90% of the revenue that is coming into a lot of these major labels are coming from hip hop. It's stemming from hip hop artists. So to know that, and I'm not going to say all the labels, because I did see Warner Music Group. Not only did they step up and say, okay, we feel affected by this, but they've actually contributed a large donation to a fund that's going to help, with social injustice. So shout out to Warner Music Group. It's interesting because I've never worked for them, but always had a lot of great relationships within that label. So when I look at, like, you know, other labels, I'm just shocked. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. Even down to artists. Let's let's take it up a notch. I've seen artists speak up about issues that really is not even of importance. Yet this particular issue, they're extremely quiet. And if they have said something within the last, let's say, 24 to 48 hours, it's only because they were tired of being called out by Twitter or Instagram. Like, these are the same fans that will go and fight for them if they're dealing with a situation. Yet when it comes to something like this, they don't have a comment. They don't have anything to say. So it's just, the whole thing is just shocking to me. It's really shocking. And I've seen recent comments from, some NFL guys who stated what they stated, and it's like, wow, that's how you feel.
Yeah. Ex- and it's even more saddening because sports is so diverse. When
Mm-hmm.
you look at football in general, there's one of the sports where it's like you could have teammates from so many different countries and so many
The
different
most global
backgrounds.
sport in the world.
And
Global sport
and
in the
on top
world.
of that, this is I would congratulate football for being finally, like, globally football has been affected and globally football players are speaking out. Like you mentioned earlier, I've never seen
Mm-hmm.
when there's been any social injustice happening in the world where football players stand up and are counted outside of the region that's been affected. So big shout out to the football clubs who have responded.
Yes.
Big shout
Yes.
out to the players who responded, and big shout out to all the organizations that have spoken up about this, because we can no longer stand for this. Like, growing up, our parents have experienced it. Our Like, this is just ingrained in our society where it's like we have the voice and we have the change. And also, I'd like to bring up younger footballers. So I know I've seen a lot of MLS Academy football players.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Joshua Gordon being one from Toronto FC. He has been
Yes.
very vocal about the social injustices that he's faced, and he's been very active on his Instagram about making sure that people are aware of what has been going on and that he will not be silenced, and he will definitely speak his views on getting equality for all. I've seen it from a couple of other MLS Academy players all over the globe, and good kudos to you boys, because you boys are gonna be
The
potentially in
future.
the 2026 World Cup. Like, you
Yeah,
guys are
they're the future.
looking at you guys for the 2026 World Cup. So very proud of the way you guys have banded together the young athletes. I've seen all races do it, not just black players. I've seen all races have at the younger ages have come out and spoken and said some very valid and positive points and has shared some great outlooks from their perspective. So that kudos to you guys. I really appreciate it. Let's just go into now what's been going on with football, because football is back, everyone. The Premier League is back.
Yes.
And
On a better note, football is back. It is back. It is back. It is back. I'm excited. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Nate, but once you said that, it just, I was like, I didn't want to be sad the whole episode, but I wanted to get into that happier phase. But man, this past few months without it, I realized I like it's hard to live without. Like usually I check my phone, for the scores, right? Or I'm usually on a plane somewhere, and by now would have probably been checking out a few Premier League matches, or even Bundesliga matches, or even MLS matches as well. I've had a few in my calendar. I'm like, wait, that was today? Wow, So I'm happy it's back.
honestly, and I'm going to say this, although the Euros didn't happen, I'm glad to say that summer is going to be filled with sports. Like,
Yeah.
due to the COVID, that is one positive I could take, because usually after Champions League ends in May, end of May, June, I'm like, man, now what? But we're going to be flooded with football from so many leagues. The MLS is coming back, the Women's League is coming back, and
Yes.
Premier League is coming back. So
Hopefully USL as well, United Soccer League, will join. That's the only league that we're waiting to kind of hear back to see whether they're going to resume, because
yes,
we've heard it from MLS this week. We've heard from, obviously, Bundesliga was the first to carry it. As far as North America and Canada is concerned, the National Women's League, they are basically carrying the torch for us, and they're starting with their Challenge Cup June 27th. So that's going to be awesome. I think MLS is doing the tournament as well, Nate.
yeah, MLS is going to be, well, all MLS players are going to, in the next 3 weeks, make their way down to Orlando at the ESPN Wide World of Sports, where they will be hosting a like group stage slash tournament there, with all teams participating and playing 4 games, I believe. The women's league, they're all
It's
going
June
down.
27th. Yeah, they'll be in Utah,
Yeah.
Salt Lake City. So that's the good part. And like I said before, we're just waiting on USL. So hopefully United Soccer League can, hopefully they'll come through with a decision. If not,
And
the end of this week, maybe next week.
I know that the Canadian Premier League as well, all of the players have returned to their home clubs, and they've been
Oh,
training.
awesome.
So I believe that they're trying to figure out a way to get back to playing behind closed doors, most likely. I
Yes.
know CPL, they're talking about hosting a tournament as well in one of the cities outside of one of our major ones. So it won't be
Hmm.
in Vancouver, Toronto, or Montreal, but I've heard talks of Calgary and maybe Halifax as well to
Oh,
host a tournament
nice.
where all the players can come together. Still new though, but also very exciting. Also, we can talk about MLS was close to a lockout, so that does make me happy. That shout
Ooh,
out to the players, um and
yes. The
MLS coming together to get a deal done for the
Yes,
players.
Players Association. Let me tell you, man, you guys are awesome, and you live up to exactly what your mission is, right? To like help the players, and the fact that they found an agreement, it's amazing. I love what the National Women's Soccer League Players Association
Yes.
have created. I mean, let me tell you, I would like to know who was their attorney on that part to assist with that because hands down one of the best. I mean, hands down one of the best.
Yes, I completely agree. We talked about it, and I think that it's great that the Women's Players Association was able to get housing and insurance, health insurance for
Hmm.
the women and their families. So
Yes,
that to me was huge. Shout out to them for getting that deal done, especially because women definitely deserve better representation, and I think that this deal that was done goes to show that women's football is moving in the right direction.
hmm
Even just getting their deal done first to even come back to play, it's going to be very exciting for
it
all of
is,
us.
and it definitely is. And a big shout out to Lisa Bard, who's their new, CMO, and just she has an amazing, amazing background. For anyone that doesn't know, definitely take a look. Lisa has done some amazing work with the Olympics. She's a go getter. Just really knows how to find the right solutions. So she's really a problem solver. And bringing her in and having her start and then being able to put together this whole challenge cup for the women's league is amazing. I mean, I just, I was very, very ecstatic to see that that was coming back. Of course, for me, when it comes to women's football, super excited. I wish it was open to, I mean, I know it's not open to the public, but at least if it were open to like Asians and stuff, I would definitely go and check it out. But I'll be watching on TV for sure. I'll be tuning
Definitely,
in. Yeah,
definitely.
I'll be
And
tuning in.
so, another breaking news in the transfer market, since we are agents, Timo Werner supposedly did agree.
But wait a second. Wait a second. Wait a second, Nate. Wait a second, cause see, you you're getting to the real hot topic. Two other leagues as well that we forgot to even mention, La Liga and Serie
Oh
A,
yeah,
are definitely coming back as well. So this month is amazing. June is not just one of my favorite months because it's my birthday month, but look at all the stuff that's happening just this month. And then of course we're starting to see a couple of transfers happen, and then for July we're going to hear about some transfers. And I know, Nate, we've discussed this, that we said it's going to feel like a January, transfer window. But from what happened and what you're getting ready to announce, I don't know. It could look
uh,
like it could feel like a summer one. It may not be as many big blockbuster deals, but it's definitely gonna
deals
be hot.
are definitely deals are happening,
It's gonna
and
be hot.
there's definitely gonna be some big. I would say there will be some big moves, not as many, maybe not the fees we are used to hearing, but there will be some
Hmm.
big name players going to some clubs. Very interesting to find out where these clubs got this money from, but that's a conversation for another time.
And speaking of that, you want to walk us through that deal that you were about to announce that I had to just chime in and kind of let it be known about
Yes,
La Liga
definitely
and these other leagues.
big breaking news. Chelsea have made a bid for Timo Werner to activate his release clause. So we may see Timo Werner from Red Bull Leipzig in the Chelsea blue, which also what do you think that means for Tammy?
Ooh, I don't know. Either
Because
either so is
because that means
hmm
one is coming in. Are they gonna try
one's
to
going
play
out.
both, or does that mean somebody's getting the boot? I think personally, I thought Tammy had a pretty good season. Seeing where he kicks off, this was his first time in the Premier League, but he was one of the top goal scorers. He did score for Chelsea. He's still fairly young. He's a England international, so for them to go out and sign another player in his position is very interesting to me. I do feel like they did need another number nine, though, my personal opinion. But I did think Tammy was also doing well for Chelsea. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that situation plays out over
And
on
I think
that
they
side.
also have, don't they have another player coming in as well? This summer for July.
Um, Maybe I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure on
Oh,
that
because we
one.
know that you're an Arsenal fan, so of
Yeah,
course
I don't.
you're. Of course
I'm
you're not
busy
going
trying to
to.
figure out if Aubameyang's gonna accept this deal or not. That's I'm too
I
busy
mean,
trying to figure.
I don't know, I don't know. I
Also,
don't know.
also, thank you. Since we're talking about Arsenal, I would like to address for the fans that are just fans of football in general that this is this is sports agent news for agents listening. We talk about big boot deals and stuff like that, and news has just been reported that Adidas has dropped or will not be renewing Mesut Ozil's boot deal. It was worth 22
What?
euros. Yes,
If I had
Adidas.
a bullhorn right now, it's wait, say what?
Yes, Adidas has decided that they are no longer going to renew Mesut Ozil's $22 million Adidas deal
Wow.
starting June. So his contract is up. The agreement, they weren't able to come to an agreement. So Adidas has now decided that they will no longer be providing Mesut Ozil with a boot deal for the near future. So that's another sports agency news big update. I know we're agents, so we're definitely surprised about this. Like,
I'm shocked.
definitely.
I'm just like, what?
Because for the people out there, just to give you guys, Mesut Ozil has one of the biggest social media followings in the Premier League, and he's been the face of Adidas football for so long. It was him. When I think of Adidas, I thought of Mesut Ozil. I think of Paul Pogba. I think of Messi. I think of Luis Suarez. So Mesut Ozil was definitely one of their top players going in, and it also surprises me because Arsenal is an Adidas club now. This was their first season as an Adidas club, so
Hmm.
but it's
Wait a minute.
very
I mean, yeah,
interesting.
this is a lot going on. Oh, and to also answer your question, when we were talking about Chelsea, it I remember his name now. Hakim Ziyech. I think Ziyech is making
Oh
his way. Yeah,
yeah.
he's starting. Yeah,
Oh
he's starting because I was like, I apologize, guys. It's a
yes.
lot going on, but I just remembered. I was like, no, there is a player. I remember reading
No,
about
no,
this a
you
while
are
back, and I
right.
know
You
that they have
are
someone coming in July. And yep, Ziyech is coming in
yes
July.
from
So
Ajax.
technically, yeah, I'm bad with the pronunciation. So Ziyech, or I just call him Hakim.
No, you're
Hakim,
right. He's coming from
Hakim.
Ajax. Hakim
Yes,
Ziyech.
they can train him as a nine, if possible. If he can, I feel like he can play as a nine. Um, yeah, Chelsea has a lot of interesting stuff going on over there, but it makes me think because since we're talking about Premier League and we're talking about Chelsea and we're talking about Arsenal, let me tell you, I'm thinking they're going after a few players in Bundesliga that, of course, we discussed before. So if we're seeing deals like Werner's deal happen, then it makes me wonder if it's still possible for Man United to go after Sancho. I think it's possible.
I think I think it will be good for them to get him. I personally think because they don't have. Let's be real. Man United does not have any players that are on the level of him in his position.
Sound, sounds like
So
an Arsenal fan, something an Arsenal fan would say.
that anybody who knows football knows Jadon Sancho will be an addition to Manchester United by far,
Absolutely. That's my
based on the
guy.
players they have.
In
So,
fact, I'm wondering why Arsenal didn't go after him.
mm, Arsenal's being. I don't want to.
Hmm.
I don't.
Or is Arsenal going
Arsenal.
after anyone? Are they going after anyone this summer? Or are they saying no? We're just gonna fall back and wait till January, maybe.
Supposedly Arsenal's also linked with Thomas partly from Atletico Madrid.
Ooh, that would be a good one.
Transfer news there is he Atletico did offer him a new contract. Thomas has stated that his desire is to join Arsenal, but do Arsenal have the funds to afford him? Those will be
Mm,
very interesting developments. I think Arsenal
very man.
have
This man, let me tell you,
there we go.
next month is going to be exciting. I mean, glued to the phone and glued to transfer market and just transfer news, because yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot that's gonna happen, and our predictions are obviously, ladies and gentlemen, our predictions. It's even though we're agents, we still are just football fans by nature. And so these are our predictions, and it's not like we have inside sources where we know. We're just giving you our opinion on what's going to happen. So I'm excited. I'm really
Exactly.
excited to see
And
what's going to develop.
feel free on your on our social handles to DM us or message us any topics you guys or any transfer stuff you guys are interested in. Please, on our Twitters, on our Instagrams, if you guys have any topics you want to discuss or any comments about the podcast that you'd like addressed, please feel
Yes.
free to out, and we will definitely shout you guys out and definitely mention it in our next recaps.
Absolutely, yes. Please do. Our social handles is the Inside Agents. So that's our handle on Instagram. It's our handle on Twitter. We're active, so we do respond.
We are on
And
Facebook as well, just to throw
yes,
that out there.
yes, we're on Facebook as well, and we obviously release our episodes every Friday. So we're excited, and please, like, interact with us, like, let us know your thoughts, give us great feedback on what you liked about maybe our last episode or the episode before that, or topics that you would want to see us talk about, like Nate said, or just any questions in general. If you're looking for advice, if you're possibly wanting to know what is it like to be an agent, we can also you know answer your questions and create something really cool around that, whether it's we have you know fans send us some questions ahead of time and we can answer it on one of our next episodes, or anything of that nature. So please feel free to interact with us and give us great feedback.
Yes, most definitely. Also, Maggie, do you want to share what we have coming up for the next month, or would you like to keep that?
Ooh, I don't know, Nate. I mean, we could surprise them. Maybe we could just give them a little sample, like a little
We can
tease of, like, yeah,
there
like a little tease.
definitely we're gonna have some people in all facets of sports on. We're definitely gonna address boot deals with major brands and scouting
Yes.
with
A
MLS.
major,
Major MLS
major.
scout has joined us on our podcast, so
Yes. And within the
definitely
next
look
month or
forward.
so, we have some exciting guests that are going to be coming on, and I'm super excited.
Yes, we are gonna be having a lot more special guests on here covering all facets of football and sports, from literally boot deals and sponsorships to literally a scouts intake and just coaching in general. So definitely some exciting guests. Excited to be a part of this podcast. Excited to watch the growth of the podcast. And definitely, guys, like we said, please reach out to us on our social medias. Would love to hear from you guys and your opinions going on. Maggie, do you have anything else?
Once again, I just want to thank you guys for tuning into another episode. We really appreciate you guys just rocking with us for the past, what, 3 or 4 episodes now. So we really appreciate it, and continue to tune in and just give us great feedback. And we love you
Yes,
guys.
guys.
Thank you so much.
Last thing I'd like to say, please spread love, take care of others, and register to vote. If you are old enough,
Yes.
please register to
Register.
vote and let
Your
your vote
life, your
heard.
life literally depends on it. Like, literally depends on it. This year, this is the year that, if you haven't taken it serious before, please register. Get out there. Spread the message to all your friends and family. Make sure, if it's family members, if you guys got to go in a group, do that. If you're friends, you got to go in a group, do that. And if you say the line is too long to wait and vote, if you can wait online to either go to a concert or go and maybe buy the latest iPhone or something, then you can definitely do that to go out and vote. So please
Thank,
register to vote. And once
thank you,
again, thank you
guys.
so much, guys, for tuning into the Inside Agents.